Okay, the inseam. I think this is probably the trickiest part, at least in terms of manipulating fabric. Applying the zigzag to the elastic at the top of the leggings can also be tricky in terms of manipulating, but this step, you're probably, if you have a serger, I'd recommend you use serger, either flat lock or just some serger stitch. So manipulating that sharp curve in with a serger is going to be a little tricky, but it's, you know, if you based, I think that makes it a lot easier. Here's the step I'm talking about. Here's a screenshot from the instructions, step 9. So what you're doing is the seam, when you've pulled the front and the back and matched those up, and you're going to start at the bottom. This doesn't show all the legs, of course, but what we got going here is this is the come on, pen tool. This is the bottom. This goes down to the bottom of the leg. Okay, there's some short little legs there. Those are just short ones, not even capris. And so you're going to start at the bottom of the one leg and sew up and sew back down the other way. I guess you would start here because you want this side on top. And the method shown in the pattern is definitely the simplest, okay? I'm going to first off say this is the simplest, easiest way to accomplish this task and have it look good. I'm also going to say I don't use this method, and I'll tell why in a second here. So the method that is suggested is that you stay stitch 1/4 inch row of stitches here. And by the way, this, if you're confused about where this is, it's right here. I mean, maybe that seems obvious, but the first time I made these, that really did confuse me, what I was looking at there. I kept seeing it as a little pokey thing rather than an in-cut. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So this is the area we're talking about. And so you stay stitch here and then clip. You clip right up to that stitch line, 3 clips, and this clip is center front. Okay, this is on the front of the leggings. And what that does is makes it so much easier when you get to this step, because that's such a steep curve. So then you get to this step and you stitch. They're showing a straight stitch, but they intend that you would zigzag, use their method of seam finishing where you zigzag and then stretch it out, or use a stretch stitch or whatever. This just for simplicity. So then you do the stitching, and this will stretch it out. This will these notches, these snips, I guess I should say, will allow this to straighten out and stitch without a pucker. And that does work well, but here's my problem with it. I had a pair get a run in them. And I've read people on the site have said they've had structural problems there and they stopped doing the snips. So you have to decide. I actually, in this series of leggings that I've been making as I've been making these videos, I've come to a compromise. Because I was using the flat lock, I don't want any stay stitching in there because it would show, or it wouldn't be. I don't know, it would make it a lot harder, I think, to get that flat lock done, and I didn't need it. So with the flat lock, because I just did these tiny, tiny clips that were within the area that I was going to serge off, and that just made enough difference of being able to get around that sharp corner. So what I do is I make those snips. You can see them here, very minor, just in the area that's getting serged off. Pinned it just to hold it down till I get to the machine. And then I baste it. I use this machine with a really long basting stitch, and I start here and I baste down this way. That's why you can see the color change. And the reason I do that is getting these center points lined up is really important. If the gusset doesn't line up on the center front, it looks bad and it feels funny when you wear it. So I sink the needle right here, and I'm going through to the center front, and I sew that way, and then I flip it over, sink the needle back down there, maybe overlap one stitch, and stitch by stitch manipulate this fabric so that these two edges are staying together and that this critical center point is lined up. here's what it looks like on the other side, and you can see my snips. I have not gone all the way up to that stitching line. If you're not worried about your fabric running, and you could also reinforce that later with a really tight zigzag. They show that on one of their blog posts doing that. So it's just I was doing the flat locks, so like I say, but no matter, even when I'm serging it, I will do that reinforcing stitch that they showed, but I just don't clip. Again, personal choice. I don't snip that up. And even though this was puckered on my basting, where's my basting? Oh, it must be down here more. Here we go. Even though there's these little puckers here, that's just because I'm pulling something that is a steep curve, pulling it straight. So that's what happens. But when you pull out that basting, it looks beautiful. You can see now, so you can see why I wouldn't want stay stitching here, because I'm stitching on the right side of the fabric and pulling it open. I don't think there's a way to do it. But like I say, I didn't need it with this application. If you're serging, I would do that stay stitching, but I wouldn't clip. If you want to make it easier and it's manipulating sharp curves on a serger is new to you, maybe you haven't had a serger for decades or something, I would do it the way they suggest and do the snips all the way up to the center front. And I don't know what the significance of this, the way that landed there. That's kind of strange. Here's what it looked like with my other weird fabric. So that's it. They suggest in the instructions that you do this seam with the front part up. So you're seeing this front part, the center front of the legging. So you use that side up. I can't say I've always done it that way, but that probably makes sense. And once you've got this seam done, you are getting extremely close. Then all there is to do is the waist and the bottom. So that's getting there very close to being completed. Good luck with this step. Go slow, baste, take your time, and you should get a good result. Bye.